Okay. What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new Pokemon Go news alert. Today we have a ton of stuff to talk about, ranging from a Silph Road data mine to some actual official Pokemon Go news and the most recent update that's coming out very shortly, if it's not already out for you guys. Let's get right into it. To start off, if you go into any Starbucks across the United States, at least most of them anyways, you should be able to get a special Pokemon Go themed drink from them. It's a Frappuccino or a Cappuccino or something. I'm not exactly sure what it is specifically. We can go check that out, actually. So apparently the Pokemon Go Frappuccino that Starbucks is offering is just sort of a promotional thing. They're also making Starbucks across the United States, Pokestops, and apparently also possibly gyms. I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I've heard. So apparently it's a classic vanilla bean Frappuccino blended beverage that has evolved with raspberry syrup and blackberries, which sounds absolutely fantastic, by the way. I think I might actually go and have one, if for no other reason that I'm a Pokemon Go content creator, and it's kind of cool that they're actually theming a drink after Pokemon Go. Alright, but there's a lot more to today's video than just this little bit. This was just the tip of the iceberg, guys. There's a ton of stuff to talk about today. So moving on, December 12th, which is next Monday, we will be getting an announcement for the second generation of Pokemon, or just new Pokemon. Now, there are a few people that have speculated that this might not actually mean second generation. It could mean shiny Pokemon, which is something we're going to talk about very shortly, because there's definitely a lot of evidence to back shiny Pokemon being added into the game, but also legendary Pokemon or possibly an exclusive event Pokemon. Although during the Sprint announcement panel that went on earlier, it was only to people that actually were in the know and involved with Sprint, not actually everyone in the public and consumers. So we didn't actually get to see it, but apparently John Hanke actually answered that we're going to have to wait until this coming Monday to be able to see anything about second generation, in response to someone that was asking about second generation being added to the game. Another person that was talking during the panel actually mentioned as well that they're excited to bring the second generation of Pokemon Go to players. Now, this could mean the second generation of Pokemon Go in the sense that they're adding a lot more to Pokemon Go, which would make it a second generation of sorts, or it could also mean that they're actually adding in second gen. The terms that they use could sort of encompass a lot of things, and I don't want to overhype it before it actually happens, but we have had a lot of evidence that points to second gen being added very shortly. Speaking of Sprint, there's actually also something that's going on with Sprint stores across the United States. Apparently there are going to be Pokestops and gyms opening up at all of them, so that's over 10,000 of them, 10,500 to be exact. There's also going to be free charging stations to just generally charge your phones while you're playing Pokemon Go, and possibly also some other events that are going to be going on. The way that Sprint acted during this announcement makes me think that we're actually probably not seeing the end of the partnership that Pokemon Go is going to be having with Sprint, especially when you consider that they said that they're taking this partnership very seriously. I mean, I just feel like overall we probably haven't seen the end of it. There's probably going to be events that go along with it, maybe some future things that come out of it. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not positive that there's going to be more to it than that, but it's definitely there that there could be. This would also be a really great way to implement events in a Pokemon Go if you think about it, because there's going to be a lot of places that players can go to actually be able to take part in a certain event. So overall, I do think that this would probably be the best way they could avoid lots and lots of massive crowds arriving at literally any location they decide to have it at. The sheer amount of panic that would go on in a normal event setting, like an Ingress event for example, would be really crazy for a Pokemon Go event. I think there'd be a lot more people than they could ever handle. So something that sort of allows thousands and thousands of stores to take part in this, or thousands and thousands of places to take part in this, is probably going to end up being the best way they can do that. So moving on to the most recent update for Pokemon Go, which is rolling out right now. We're going to be able to transfer all of our Pokemon that we want to at once by using the mass transfer system, which is an amazing feature. I'm so glad that they finally added it. I really don't have a whole lot to say other than I really appreciate it. So the total kilometers you've walked with your buddy Pokemon has actually been been added directly to your Pokemon screen, so you can actually go to your Pokemon's profile and see how much you've walked with it, which I think is absolutely fantastic. They're further personalizing each Pokemon, which is significant for what I'm going to be talking about for the rest of this news alert, but it's really cool that they're making steps to sort of personalize each Pokemon, make it so people feel like they're not just throwing some pixels into battle. It feels like you actually have your little Pokemon that you've been with for however long and walked with and trained. You know, it feels like you're actually training the Pokemon. Now, that's all that was actually announced for the update, but there's a lot more to talk about here. So following every single update, the Silph Road data mines the app just to see what was added in the back end of the app without actually being talked about by Niantic in their official patch notes. And guys, there is a lot that got added into the most recent patch without any notice whatsoever. First of all, Pokemon now have genders, which is significant because it eventually comes into play when you talk about future generations. And also, let's be real, breeding would be fantastic in this game. There's also certain Pokemon that have different looks to them, different little aesthetic changes based on what gender they are, so that is fantastic as well. Guys, if you clicked on this video for any reason, this probably is it. Shiny Pokemon are actually coming to Pokemon Go. It was just referenced very, very briefly in the code before, but even more code now has been added to the actual app itself to indicate shiny Pokemon are coming very shortly. Right now, it looks like they're not completely figured out. They haven't completely put everything in and implemented all the systems that they're going to need to make shiny Pokemon a thing. However, that doesn't matter because they're referenced explicitly, which means that they will eventually be added to the game. Next up, we have customization of your actual in-game avatar. This includes hair, shirts, pants, hats, shoes, your eyes, and your backpack. And it's not actually going to be limited, at least it doesn't appear to be limited, to just buying them with in-app purchases or with in-game currency. It looks like you can also unlock stuff via achievements. I mean, I really can't think of any other way that you'd unlock anything for the game other than achievements or just completing your Pokedex or something like that, but if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. There's also a new buddy Pokemon position, which is the baby Pokemon. Now, this could be referencing the baby Pokemon that were introduced in Generation 2. It could also be referencing just small Pokemon that don't really fit any of the other types of buddy Pokemon positions. So I'm not exactly sure where that's going to go, but it could be more indication that Generation 2 is coming very, very soon, which would mean probably next Monday, that's what's going to be announced. Now, another thing that I'm very, very excited about for this particular update is that references to costumes for Pokemon were mentioned. The whole idea of having costumes to personalize your Pokemon, again, further personalizing Pokemon just is a fantastic thing to do in this type of game, making it so you're further distinguishing each Pokemon from one another, making it so you can focus on one Pokemon, have a favorite Pokemon, and then give it a costume, make it personalized, walk with it a bunch, make sure that it has an actual profile that reflects that you've done a lot of things with it. It's something that the franchise has built itself on. It's something that's always been prevalent in every single iteration of the Pokemon games, and Pokemon Go has really lacked that for a long time, so it's fantastic to see that they're finally really making some big steps to personalizing every single Pokemon. So we'll most likely hear a lot more about that in the coming weeks leading up to around Christmas time. And yeah, guys, that's going to be about it for this one. Hope you have a fantastic day. Hope to see you back here for the next Pokemon Go video. Until then, peace.